Am I audible to all of you? Am I audible? Oh, okay, thank you. Let's have quick revision what we finished. In last lecture, we started with fats or the lipids. As far as fats or oils are concerned, at 20 degrees Celsius, we are supposed to see consistency. Solid, we are going to call it as fats, and if liquid consistency we see, we are going to call these as oils. Okay. Then regarding lipids, what we said, these are esters of fatty acids, and we classified lipid as simple lipid, compound lipids, and derived lipids. Okay, example of simple lipid is triglyceride. Okay, and the most important aspect, about 99% of body fat, it is present in adipose tissue, and it is present in the form of triglycerides. Okay, as far as compound lipids is concerned, phospholipids, there are different phospholipids, but just one example we have discussed, that is sphingomyelin, which you can find in myelin sheath. As far as derived lipids is concerned, cholesterol, it is most important component of cell membranes. Okay, then we discussed about fatty acids. So whenever we hydrolyze fats, we get fatty acids. Okay, and these fatty acids further they are divided into saturated fatty acids and unsaturated fatty acids. Saturated fatty acids mostly we get it from animal foods, And as far as vegetable oils are concerned, these are mainly palm oil and coconut oil, which are rich in saturated fatty acids. Examples of saturated fatty acids, it's palmitic acid and stearic acid. I think we didn't mention it yesterday. So palmitic acid and stearic acid are the examples of saturated fatty acids. And saturated fatty acids, they do not contain a double bond. Okay, we can find presence of double bond in unsaturated fatty acids. Okay, so these are further divided into monounsaturated fatty acids and polyunsaturated fatty acids. Example under monounsaturated fatty acid is oleic acid. And as far as polyunsaturated fatty acids are concerned, the examples, it includes linoleic acid, linolenic acid and arachidonic acid. Okay, essential fatty acids. Essential fatty acids are not synthesized in our body. So it is very essential that we must obtain these essential fatty acids from dietary sources. Okay, there are 5 examples under this. So we said it is linoleic acid, linolenic acid, arachidonic acid, eicosapentaenoic acid and docosahexaenoic acid. Okay, again we just divided these into omega 6 and omega 3 fatty acids. So out of these, the linoleic acid and arachidonic acids, these are N6, that is omega 6 fatty acids, and remaining, that is linolenic acid or alpha linolenic acid, to be specifically eicosapentaenoic acid and docosahexaenoic acid, these are omega 3 fatty acids. Okay, as far as sources, dietary sources for essential fatty acids is concerned, the most important thing, we can get it from plant foods like cereals, millets, and most important is different oil seeds. Okay, so when we consume different oil seeds, we can get essential fatty acids like linolenic acid as well as linoleic acid. Okay, in addition, we said most important source for linoleic acid are different vegetable oils. Okay, so on the top it should be safflower oil, followed by corn oil, sunflower oil, soybean oil, sesame oil. Okay, regarding arachidonic acid, these are animal sources. Okay, regarding eicosapentaenoic acid and docosahexaenoic acid, we get it mainly from fish or fish oils. Regarding sources, dietary sources for fats, we can obtain fats from animal foods, from vegetable foods, and invisible fat. Okay, the fat which is present in invisible form in different cereals, pulses, or nuts. Okay, and don't forget endogenous source. Okay, so these can be produced from carbohydrate. Okay, so fats in our body, carbohydrate may get converted into fats. Okay, we discussed about visible fats and invisible fats. Visible fats, basically they can be separated from their natural sources. Example is separation of ghee from milk. Okay, as far as invisible fats are concerned, they are not visible to naked eyes. So whatever invisible fats which are present in cereals, which are present in pulses, okay, these we are calling as invisible fats. Hydrogenation in this process, basically vanaspati or vegetable ghee is manufactured and it is prepared from vegetable oils. So two important things we said. One is change in the physical state, that is vegetable oils are liquid which gets converted into solid or semi-solid vanaspati or vegetable ghee. Another change occurs in relation to fatty acids. Okay, vegetable oils, they are rich in polyunsaturated fatty acids, okay, and they get converted into saturated fatty acids. But advantage of Vanaspati is that it has ghee like consistency and it is fortified. It is fortified with vitamin A and vitamin D. So Vanaspati or vegetable ghee, it is one of the source for vitamin A and vitamin D. Okay. Regarding refining, as far as refining is concerned, there is no change in fatty acid, but basically this process is done to improve the quality and to improve the taste. Okay, so during refining, whatever rancid material is there which is present in raw oils, it is removed. Okay, another important aspect to understand is trans fatty acids. Okay, so as far as trans fatty acids, these are abbreviated as TFAs. Okay, as far as trans fatty acids are concerned, basically this is byproduct of industrial processing of food. So whenever different foods they are processed in industry, we get these trans fatty acids as byproducts. Okay, and when these are formed, so whenever the vegetable oils are partially hydrogenated. Okay, so now here we are talking about partial hydrogenation. Okay, partial hydrogenation of vegetable oils. So what we said, in industrial processing of food, the vegetable oils they are partially hydrogenated, and the purpose for this is to increase shelf life of PUFAs. Okay, to increase shelf life of PUFAs. So whatever polyunsaturated fatty acids are there, उनका शेल्फ लाइफ बढ़ाना है, इसलिए ड्यूरिंग इंडस्ट्रियल प्रोसेसिंग partial hydrogenation is done. Okay, this partial hydrogenation, it is abbreviated as PHVO, that is partial hydrogenation of vegetable oils. Okay, so during industrial processing, partial hydrogenation is done. This is done of vegetable oils. Why this is done? This is done to increase shelf life of polyunsaturated fatty acids, and during this process these trans fatty acids are generated. Okay, or these are created. Now what is significance, what is importance of these trans fatty acids? Okay, the most important aspect as far as trans fatty acids consumption is concerned, okay, trans fatty acids they increases risk of CHD. Okay, increased risk of coronary heart disease. Increased risk of CHD. Okay, trans fatty acids they are having significant association with coronary heart disease. Okay, so several studies are conducted regarding this, and this association is proved. Okay, so they are increasing risk of CHD. How they increases this risk? Basically they increases level of low density lipoproteins. Okay, they contribute to the increased level of low density lipoprotein, which is having atherogenic role as far as atherosclerosis is concerned. Okay, another important thing, the protective lipoprotein, this is HDL. Okay, protective is high density lipoprotein, and level of HDL is reduced. Okay, so trans fatty acids they increase LDL level, at the same time they reduce the protective lipoprotein, that is high density lipoprotein. Okay, so this is one of the important thing to understand about trans fatty acids. Okay, which foods are there that can provide trans fatty acids? Okay, so as we are saying, these foods are industrially processed food. Okay, so whenever we purchase and consume packaged food, okay, whatever packaged food we are taking, we must be aware to see either whether label has mentioned that vegetable oils are partially hydrogenated, or you must see the contents of trans fats or trans fatty acids. Okay, this is important aspect. And the sources, as far as what different sources is concerned, these are mainly deep fried fast foods. Okay, so whatever different deep fried fast foods are there, like chips, crackers, okay, in addition different candies which are available, different cakes, cake mixes that are available, so anything which is processed, okay, we must be aware as far as consumption of these processed food is concerned. Okay, so this is a important aspect which is related with the trans fatty acids or trans fats. What are various functions of fats in our body? Okay, so regarding functions, the first thing what we already earlier discussed, what we said, fats are concentrated sources of energy. Okay, we said concentrated sources of energy. Now here, if you can recall, when we discussed the principles of dietetics, or whatever principles that are applied practically as far as nutrition is concerned, we discussed about the energy which is given from 1 gram of protein, 1 gram of carbohydrate, and 1 gram of fat. Okay, so as far as 1 gram of fat and the energy that is given is concerned, 1 gram of fat, it provides about 9 kilocalories. And if you can recall, in comparison to 1 gram of protein or fat, they just provide 4 kilocalories. Okay, so that's why what we are saying, fats are concentrated sources of energy. Okay, so they can provide energy, and 1 gram of fat, it can provide 9 kilocalories of energy. Fats plays important role in absorption of fat soluble vitamins. Okay, so basically they serves as vehicle, they serves as vehicle for fat soluble vitamins. Okay, so fat soluble vitamins, I think all of you are knowing, these are vitamin A, D, E and K. Okay, so fats, they serves as vehicle for fat soluble vitamins. Okay, regarding distribution of fats, we said fat, it is mainly present surrounding the viscera, and it is present subcutaneously, that is beneath the skin. So as far as the amount of fat which is present surrounding the viscera, okay, the most important function here is it gives support. Okay, so it gives support to different viscera like intestine, kidney, heart. Okay, so this is one of the function related to support to the viscera. And the fat which is present beneath the skin, okay, it provides insulation against cold. It provides insulation against cold. Okay, so during cold environment, definitely the fats which are present beneath the skin, they have insulation effect. Okay, as far as our taste is concerned, when we consume food, the fats, it gives palatability and it gives satiety. Okay, so whenever you consume food containing fats, okay, satiety feeling is there. Another important function which is related with the essential fatty acids, so different essential fatty acids, they are required for growth. Okay, now you know different essential fatty acids, and their role is they are required for growth. We'll see few functions that are related with a specific essential fatty acids. So if we talk about linoleic acid and arachidonic acid, okay, linoleic acid and arachidonic acid, these two essential fatty acids, basically they prevent platelet aggregation. Okay, they prevent aggregation of platelet, or you can say adhesion of platelets. Okay, so this is the most important function of linoleic acid, arachidonic acid, and since it has protective effect against thrombus formation, now they are preventing platelet aggregation, and by preventing platelet aggregation, these essential fatty acids, they will provide protection against thrombus formation. If we talk about EPA, EPA is what? Eicosapentaenoic acid. Okay, as far as this essential fatty acid is concerned, it plays important role to break down the cholesterol. Okay, and hence it helps to reduce the blood or serum cholesterol level. Okay, so the specific function EPA, eicosapentaenoic acid, this is required for breaking of cholesterol, and hence it helps to reduce serum cholesterol level. At the same time, it reduces the level of LDL, low density lipoproteins. Okay, so regarding trans fats, we said trans fats, they are increasing LDL level. But if you talk about essential fatty acid, eicosapentaenoic acid, it helps to reduce the level of LDL. Okay, so this essential fatty acid will reduce serum cholesterol level, and it will help to lower the LDL level. One more essential fatty acid we discussed, arachidonic acid. Okay, so this function is very important as far as arachidonic acid is concerned. We are talking about arachidonic acid. Okay, so the most important role of arachidonic acid, this is required for synthesis of prostaglandins. Okay, this is required for prostaglandin synthesis. Okay, and as far as prostaglandins are concerned, these prostaglandins further, they perform various functions. They regulate different physiological functions in our body. Say for example, they are essential for maintaining homeostasis. These prostaglandins, they maintain motility of GI tract. Another important function of these prostaglandins is they regulate the gastric acid secretion. Okay, even they regulate functions of different organs. Okay, that's why these prostaglandins are generally called as local hormones. Okay, so most important function of arachidonic acid, which is concerned with the prostaglandin. Okay, or simply you can say PUFA. These are the precursor for synthesis of prostaglandins, and these prostaglandins further plays different role to maintain the health. Now, if we talk about derived lipid, okay, in derived lipid we said about cholesterol. Okay, as far as functions of cholesterol is concerned, so this is not always villain. Okay, cholesterol also, it has some important functions in our body. Basically, cholesterol, it is the essential component of cell membranes and nervous tissue. Okay, and this cholesterol, it serves as precursor for synthesis of vitamin D. Okay, now as far as vitamin D precursor, if you can recollect the name, we said 7-dehydrocholesterol. Okay, so cholesterol precursor for synthesis of vitamin D. Okay, secondly, this is precursor for synthesis of, most important part is steroid hormones. Okay, so as far as steroid hormones is concerned, these steroid hormones, they can be synthesized with the help of cholesterol. Okay, just to enlist a few steroid hormones in our body, it is one thing already we have discussed as kidney hormone as far as vitamin D and its activation is concerned. Okay, so that is 125 DHCC. This is 125 DHCC, if at all you can recall. This is 125 dihydroxy cholecalciferol. Okay, so this is one of the steroid hormone. Secondly, from adrenal cortex, this is testosterone. From sorry, this is cortisol from adrenal cortex. This is cortisol from testis. This is testosterone. Okay, estrogen and progesterone from ovaries. Okay, estrogen and progesterone. For estrogen and progesterone, we may get it from ovary also and from placenta also. So there are different sources depending upon the physiological state. Okay, so few important steroid hormones just we enlisted. Now just to compare fats with proteins, or to be specifically cholesterol with proteins, proteins we said they are mainly required for synthesis of, they are mainly required for synthesis of peptide hormones. And as far as synthesis of steroid hormones in our body is concerned, the most important precursor for this is cholesterol. Okay, so cholesterol plays important role in synthesis of steroid hormones. So just to enlist these functions very fast, fats are concentrated sources of energy. 1 gram of fats, it gives 9 kilocalories. Fats, they serves as a vehicle for fat soluble vitamins. The fat which is present around the viscera gives support to the viscera. The fats which are present beneath the skin, it provides insulation against cold. Fats, it gives palatability and satiety to the food. Essential fatty acids, they are required for growth. Then as far as protection against thrombus formation is concerned, these are mainly linoleic acid and arachidonic acids, which inhibit platelet aggregation. EPA, it helps to reduce serum cholesterol level. It also reduces level of LDL. Arachidonic acid, this is mainly required for synthesis of prostaglandins, which further plays different roles in our body. Cholesterol, it is required for synthesis of vitamin D, and it is precursor for synthesis of different steroid hormones in our body. Now, what different diseases are there which are concerned with the fats? As far as fats and diseases is concerned, we are going to talk about obesity, we are going to talk about coronary heart disease, cancer, and phrenoderma. Okay, but before that, just permit me to end this meeting and you please rejoin. Am I audible to all of you? Okay, thank you. Yeah, so we are talking about fats and diseases. One of the most important thing which is related with consumption of fats. Okay, so whenever we consume the diet which is rich in fat, okay, so whenever the diet is rich in fat, there is possibility that this fat rich diet, it may lead to obesity. Okay, and what we said, whatever total body fat is there, 99% it is present in adipose tissues. Okay, now what happens, what you can observe in obese people, there will be increase in adipose tissues. Okay, what you will find is adipose tissue will be increased. Okay, so that increase may be up to 30%. And if you compare this with normal humans, okay, so in normal subjects the adipose tissue, it constitutes to 10 to 15% of body weight. Okay, 10 to 15% of body weight is generally contributed by the fats. Okay, but as far as, or to be specifically, these are adipose tissues. But if you talk about obese individual, so as the weight gain will be there, definitely there will be increase in adipose tissues. Okay, obesity is one of the important thing. Obesity, you are having separate disease under non-communicable diseases, and I think madam has finished with this. Okay, so right now just remember fat contents. Okay, increased diet which is rich in fat, it can contribute to obesity. Okay, second important thing is coronary heart disease. Okay, whenever diet which is rich in fat or high fat intake is there, and if more than 40% of energy, here we are talking about energy, if more than 40% of energy is provided from the fats, there is increased risk. And to be specifically, if these fats, they are rich in saturated fatty acids, or simply you can say saturated fats. Okay, so the diet where more than 40% of energy is supplied by fats, and the diet mainly contains saturated fats. Okay, so this increases the risk of CHD. This increases risk of coronary heart disease, or rather we can say this is one of the most important risk factor for CHD. Okay. Now regarding the lipoproteins and the CHD, here just the lipoproteins which can provide protection and which can having atherogenic effect. Regarding LDL, already we have talked. Okay, so whenever LDL will increase, it will have atherogenic effect. Okay, another important here is VLDL. Okay, so low density lipoprotein and very low density lipoprotein, so whenever their level is increased, they are having atherogenic effect, and these can contribute to CHD. Okay, and as far as protective part is concerned, these are mainly HDL, high density lipoprotein. They are having protective effect against CHD. But right now, as far as CHD and fat consumption is there, here just increased fat intake, total energy that is provided, okay, more than 40% energy is provided, and the type of fat which is consumed. Okay, so it is mainly saturated fats, okay, which are contributing to occurrence of CHD. Next disease, which is concerned with the fat. Okay, here for all we are talking about excess consumption. Okay, so recently some evidences are there which are showing that increase in fat intake, okay, increase in fat intake, it increases the risk of ca colon, it increases the risk of colon, and it increases the risk of breast cancer. Okay, so colon cancer and breast cancer, increase or high content of fat in diet, they can contribute to colon and breast cancer. Okay, the most important aspect is phrenoderma. Okay, phrenoderma. Now here we are talking about deficiency. Here we are not talking about excess, here we are talking about deficiency, and this is deficiency of essential fatty acids. Okay, deficiency of essential fatty acids, it may result in a condition which is called as phrenoderma. Now what happens in phrenoderma? Basically what you are supposed to see is the cutaneous changes or skin changes. Okay, so whenever there is deficiency of essential fatty acids, the skin changes which occurs, it is a roughness of the skin becomes rough, it becomes dry. Okay, so there is roughness and dryness. Okay, in addition to this, what we can find is eruptions. These are papular eruptions. Okay, there can be papular eruptions, and sometimes these eruptions may appear horny. Okay, they may have horn like appearance. Okay, so these manifestation, that is papular and horny eruptions, which we can get in phrenoderma, where the skin becomes dry, rough. Okay, so this condition, it is also compared with the toad skin. Okay, so if you see the skin of toads, this appears somewhat like that. Okay, toad skin appearance you can see. So here this is the deficiency disorder, and phrenoderma, it can be asked, or it has been asked for 2 marks. Okay, so first thing to notice is deficiency. There is deficiency of essential fatty acids. This is manifested as skin changes. Okay, skin becomes dry, it becomes rough, it becomes papular eruptions, you can see horny eruptions can be seen, and this can be compared with the toad skin. Okay, what are the various sites where these eruptions can be seen? So they are mainly seen on the back, they can be seen on the buttocks, and at the same time these skin changes, they can be seen on posterolateral aspects of the extremities. Okay, so back and buttocks, these are the important sites. In addition, the posterolateral aspects of the limbs. Okay, there also we can find this condition. It is mainly reported from Kerala and Karnataka. Okay, now how to treat it? As far as treatment is concerned, so definitely we should have to provide those oils which are rich in essential fatty acids. Okay, so to be specifically safflower oil. Okay, and other oils what we discussed. In addition to supplementation of essential fatty acids, B group vitamins can also be given to these patients. Okay, so we talked about obesity, right? So maximum weight gain, it will be due to increase in adipose tissues, and when this occurs, whenever the dietary fat intake is high. Okay, whenever dietary fat intake is high, okay, if we talk in terms of energy, more than 40% of energy we are getting, and there is high consumption of saturated fats, it can contribute to coronary heart disease, which is one of the most important risk factor for CHD. Okay, evidences are suggesting that high fat intake, it is associated with colon cancer and breast cancer. And in addition, we said deficiency of essential fatty acids may get manifested as phrenoderma. Okay, the other manifestation, you can correlate this specifically with deficiency of omega 3 essential fatty acids. As far as omega 3 essential fatty acids are concerned, I hope you can recall the names: alpha linolenic acid, eicosapentaenoic acid, and docosahexaenoic acid. Okay, deficiency of these essential fatty acids, it may lead to some neurological manifestations or some cutaneous changes. Okay, so these are the various things that are related with the fats and diseases. Now, regarding population nutrition goals, these goals are set by World Health Organization and Food and Agricultural Organization expert group on diet. Okay, diet, nutrition, and prevention of chronic diseases. The population nutrition goals, what we are going to talk, these are concerned with percentage of energy. So, what are the population nutrition goals which are suggested by this expert group? Okay, so these goals, it includes total fat. Okay, so total fat in our diet, it should provide 15 to 30% of energy, or at least it should provide 20% of energy. So whatever diet we consume, 15 to 30% energy we should get it from fats. Okay, these are total fats. Now, as far as saturated fats are concerned, saturated fats, they should provide less than 10% of energy. So less than 10% we should get it from saturated fats. Okay, as far as PUFAs are concerned, the total energy that can be provided from PUFAs, it varies from 6 to 10%. Okay, so 6 to 10% energy we should get from PUFAs. Okay, and again, these are omega 6 or N6 that should provide 5 to 8%, and N3 it should provide 1 to 2%. Okay, trans fatty acids less than 1%. Even in population nutrition goal, cholesterol, okay, the recommendation for cholesterol intake, it is less than 300 milligrams per day. Okay, so daily intake of cholesterol, it should be less than 300 milligrams. Okay, regarding dietary sources of cholesterol, we can get it only from animal food. Okay, again, to highlight the most important point here, only from animal foods we can obtain cholesterol. Okay, and one more important thing is endogenous synthesis of cholesterol. So cholesterol can be synthesized in our body, and when we consume different animal foods, okay, these are only animal foods that can provide cholesterol. Okay, so total fat 15 to 30%, saturated fats less than 10%, PUFAs 6 to 10, which are again divided into 5 to 8% energy from N6 and 1 to 2% from N3, less than 1% from trans fats. Okay, and cholesterol less than 300 milligram per day. Right now we are talking about fats and fatty acids in human nutrition. Okay, so in November 2008, expert consultation on fats and fatty acids in human nutrition held at Geneva. Okay, so we are talking about the consultation which was held in the year 2008. Okay, very long back. The expert group, they reviewed the scientific evidence of intake of total fats and fatty acids in relation to different stages of life. The expert group, they also assessed the risk to adequate growth, development, and maintenance of health. The expert group provided recommendations for infants, children, adults, and for women during pregnancy and lactation. So what this expert group has given recommendations, that recommendations we are going to see. So the recommendations regarding saturated fatty acids. Okay, we are talking about recommendations given by this expert group in the year 2008 regarding saturated fatty acids. So as far as saturated fatty acids is concerned, replacing of saturated fatty acids with polyunsaturated fatty acids. Okay, if we replace PUFAs SFAs विथ PUFAs, सो SFAs को हम कम करते हैं, सैचुरेटेड फैट्स को कम करते हैं और PUFAs को बढ़ाते हैं, तो व्हाट कैन हैपन, इट डिक्रीजेस LDL cholesterol concentration and it decreases total HDL cholesterol ratio. Okay, similar effect but to lesser extent we can get it by replacing saturated fatty acids with monounsaturated fatty acids. Okay, so to reduce saturated fatty acids is the important message from this. Yeah, replacing saturated fatty acids with carbohydrate. अगर हम कार्बोहाइड्रेट से रिप्लेस करते हैं तो it decreases LDL cholesterol concentration and it also decreases HDL cholesterol concentration. Okay, but it does not decrease total HDL cholesterol ratio. Okay, so replacing SFAs with carbs, LDL can be reduced, but at the same time HDL level will also be reduced. Replacing saturated fatty acids with trans fatty acids. Okay, it significantly decreases HDL cholesterol level and it also increases total HDL cholesterol ratio. So definitely this replacement is harmful. Saturated fatty acids, the conclusion of epidemiological studies on CHD. Okay, so what is the conclusion? Replacing saturated fatty acids with polyunsaturated fatty acids decreases risk of CHD. तो CHD का रिस्क अगर हमें कम करना है तो सैचुरेटेड फैट्स का कंजम्पशन कम होना चाहिए एंड पूफास का कंजम्पशन ज़्यादा होना चाहिए. ओके, 2008 recommendations we are discussing. These recommendations are given in the year 2008 regarding monounsaturated fatty acids. Okay, replacing carbohydrates with MUFAs, it increases HDL cholesterol concentration, and replacing saturated fatty acids with monounsaturated fatty acids, it reduces LDL cholesterol concentration and it also reduces total HDL cholesterol ratio. Regarding polyunsaturated fatty acids, okay, polyunsaturated fatty acids, linoleic acid, alpha linolenic acid cannot be synthesized by humans, and for prevention of deficiency symptoms, minimum intake level for linoleic acid it is 2.5% and for alpha linolenic acid it is 0.5%. Okay, so the essential fatty acids or the PUFAs which are not synthesized, and what minimum intake should be there if our intention is to prevent deficiencies related with these PUFAs. Okay, so 2.5% is linoleic acid and 0.5% is alpha linolenic acid. Regarding trans fatty acids, trans fats from commercial partially hydrogenated vegetable oils increases risk of events of coronary heart disease, and attention should be paid to replace partially hydrogenated vegetable oils, and this is basically a challenge for the food industry. So as we know, whenever we do partial hydrogenation, Okay, trans fats are generated, which increases risk of CHD. Okay, so how to replace this process related with the partial hydrogenation? Okay, so that can be one of the important thing for reducing the cancer, for reducing the risk of CHD. Okay, regarding N3 long chain PUFAs. Okay, so as far as these chains are concerned, they are related with the number of carbon atoms. Okay, so these can be short chain, medium chain, and long chain. Okay, right now we are talking about N3 long chain PUFAs. N3 long chain PUFAs, they contribute to prevention of CHD and other degenerative diseases which are related with the aging process. So whatever degenerative diseases are there that are concerned with the aging process, they can be prevented, as well as CHD, it can be prevented by N3 long chain PUFAs. Now this is the ratio N3 N6 to N3. Okay, or you can say the ratio of LA to ALA. Okay, so as far as these essential fatty acids ratio is concerned, the recommended ratio was 3 as to 1. Okay, but what is the guideline as per this consultation? If intake of linoleic acid and alpha linolenic acid is within a recommendation. Okay, if it is within a recommendation, that is linoleic acid 8%, alpha linolenic acid 1 to 2%, there is no need to recommend specific ratio of N6 to N3. स्पेसिफिक रेशो जो पहले रिकमेंडेड था वो 3:1 था, लेकिन अभी what this expert group is saying, if we are taking linoleic acid and alpha linolenic acid as per the recommendation, there is no need to maintain this ratio. So what we can say here, PUFAs, they have protective role. They provides protection against coronary heart disease. It helps to lower LDL cholesterol concentration. It lowers total cholesterol concentration and it increases HDL cholesterol concentration. Okay. So regarding choice of cooking oil, complete dependence on just one cooking oil does not ensure the recommended intake of fatty acids for optimal health. And to achieve intake of individual fatty acids, the visible fats and correct combination of visible vegetable oils can be used. Okay, so what we are supposed to do, appropriate combination of vegetable oils, use of correct combination of 2 or more vegetable oils in proportion 1:1. Okay, so here we can combine oil containing linoleic acid and plus oil containing both linoleic acid as well as alpha linolenic acid. So the combination, it can be groundnut, sesame, rice bran, okay, cottonseed, either any one of these, plus mustard or rapeseed. Second combination, it can be groundnut, sesame, rice bran, cottonseed, any one of these, plus canola. Now same proportion, another combination, it can be groundnut, sesame, rice bran, cottonseed, any one of these plus soybean. Okay, or simply we can have combination of palmolene and soybean. Okay, another combination, it can be either safflower, sunflower, which can be combined with any one of these, that is palm oil, palmolene oil, mustard oil, or rapeseed oil. Oils containing high amount of linoleic acid and oils containing moderate or low amount of linoleic acid. Okay, so here we can combine those oils which contains high and with those oils which contains low linoleic acid. So this combination is safflower, sunflower, either of this plus palm or palmolene or olive. Okay, another combination can be safflower or sunflower plus either groundnut, sesame, rice bran or cottonseed. Okay, another important thing is to limit use of butter and ghee. Okay, third important aspect, avoid use of partially hydrogenated vegetable oils for cooking or frying. Then replacements for partially hydrogenated vegetable oils is very essential. Then frying, the oils which have higher thermal stability like palm oil, palmolene oil, sesame oil or rice bran or cottonseed oils can be used. So for frying purpose we should have to pay attention to use only those oils which are thermally stable. Okay, which are thermally stable. Regarding last point regarding requirements of fats, we will just discuss the fat requirement as far as the guidelines that are given for Indians. Okay, so this is concerned with the total energy intake. So 20% of total energy intake it should be from fats. Okay, we are talking about adults. For adult man, adult women. If you talk about infant children and boys and girls, it will vary. Okay, for infants it is 40 to 60% energy. For children it is 35% energy, and for boys and girls it is 25% of energy that we should get from fats. It's my kind request to CR, please start with attendance. She is present. She is present. Okay. 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 Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you.